Hello everyone, I am Professor Nayan Asne, Department of Information Technology, Parvatibai Genba Mosaic College of Engineering, Wagholi, Pune. So in this session, we'll start with the high collision, which is one of the rules and responsibilities, or we can say the patterns under the GRASP. So until the last session, we have seen under the controller, I think so, controller and the bloated controller. That means the controller which are having the higher responsibility or which is overloaded with the responsibility, that we called as a bloated controller. So in this session we'll start with the high collision and other things. So high collisions is the thing where we put the objects, or we can say the elements, which are having some similar functionality or which is related with some similar functionality together. So how are the operations of any element are functionally related? So we need to find that elements which are functionally related to each other, and we need to put all the elements and their responsibility into one manageable unit. So related responsibilities into one manageable unit. It prefers the high collision, clearly defines the purpose of element. So when we put all the elements which are similar with the functionality or with having some related responsibility into single unit, so we can define the purpose of that element very clearly. So what are the benefits of high collision? We can easily understand and maintain the code. We can use the code repeatedly, that means code reuse. And third is low coupling, that means we can separate the element, the higher level and the lower level from each others. So no two elements will be totally dependent on each other, so they will not affect. So low coupling is also preferred. So this is the example of low cohesion. We are seeing high collision. So need to understand the concept of high collision. First understand what is the low cohesion. So in low cohesion, the elements which are related with some functionality are putted in a single manageable unit in a high collision. But in low cohesion, we can see everything is mixed up. When you want to get some student data, you need to operate on a student. When there is a database access some other query, we are operating on student. When we need to insert a database, we are operating on the student. So there is no specified things which will be highlight the related element. So in second example where we have seen the high cohesion, so student is there. Whenever the student it get called, the student class or the student object is get called for some student information, that directly we are going with the database which is related to the student. So everything which is related to the student is kept in the DB database, which will have all the information about the student. So every query which is related to the student is fired on the DB database. So that is related elements, or the elements which are related with functionality or related with the responsibility are kept into the single manageable unit. That means you are high cohesion. Next is the polymorphism. That means we have seen polymorphism multiple times in our object-oriented programming. In simple word, we can say one name multiple forms is nothing but the polymorphism. But we have also seen the different example of polymorphism. We have seen function overloading, function overriding in polymorphism. Same we are applying here. So how to handle the related but varying elements based on the element type. So how to handle the elements which are related to each other but they are varying in their syntax or in the element type. Like as this function overloading, we can say, which is having, if two different classes are having a same method with a different parameter list, then we can say that function overloading. So function overloading is one of the type of your polymorphism which is used here. So polymorphism guide us in deciding which object is responsible for handling those varying elements. Benefits of this is handling a new variation will become easy by using the polymorphism. So we'll directly see the example. Suppose we have shape class, in that we have get area method. We have two different shapes like circle and triangle. Each one is representing two different classes with the same method name. We have seen the method name as the get area. In triangle also there is a get area. So these two are the methods with the same name but different parameter list. Okay, so the triangle will have different list, circle will have different parameter list. So when the get area is called by the shape, which is the generalization of these two specified classes, so polymorphism will decide which get area method should be called. Either it called from the circle or we should call from the triangle. So this is identified by the polymorphism. So when the elements which are having some related functionality but vary in the some syntax or vary in a type. So get area is the type of circle and this get area is the type of triangle. So polymorphism is totally responsible for identifying and managing the variation of the elements which are related to some functionality, some common functionality, and circle and triangle have the common functionality like a shape because they both are shape. So the next one is now the pure fabrication. So fabricated class, or we can say that artificial class, it assigns a set of responsibility, or we can say the related responsibility that doesn't represent any other domain. So it provides a high cohesive set of activities. So it has some responsibility that are not represented by any other domain object. Like example is like adapter and strategy, which will be these two examples or the other patterns which we have seen under the examples of many different rules. We will see in the half part of your 5th unit. So benefits of the pure fabrication is a high cohesion, low coupling and reuse of the class. So what is the pure fabrication? It is nothing but a fabricated class, or we can say the artificial class, which has set of related responsibility, but that responsibility doesn't represent by any other domain object. So that is called as a fabricated class, or we can say the artificial class. Suppose example is given of the shape. Suppose we have shape class. If we must store all the shape in the database, so if we put this responsibility in the shape class, there will be many database related to the operations, thus making the shape incohesive. So we create a fabricated class like the DB store, which is responsible to perform all the database operations. Similarly, if you have a login interface, which will be totally responsible for having all the information of your login, and also it is a good example of your fabrication. Now they have given the example of the shape here. So if we just put the shape class, so many database can access the shape. Okay, so we need to make a DB store for a DB store fabricated class for a shape which will be responsible for performing all the operations related to the shape. The next is indirection. As we have said, there is a lot of coupling between the different elements, or between the domains, or between the domain object, or we can say there is a direct coupling, or many times the coupling has been becoming very common in the elements. So indirection is introduced for the intermediate unit between the communication between the two different units. So what is the indirection? Indirection is the intermediate unit between the other units which need to be communicate with each other. So what indirection does? Indirection directly prevent the direct coupling. So indirection is the middle part between two communicating elements which avoid direct coupling. So if coupling happens directly two elements communicate each other, there is a they may happen, they will be dependent on each others, then the low coupling should be there, so it causes the high coupling. So indirection is the intermediate unit which will communicate between two different units to avoid direct coupling. So benefits is the low coupling, as this both there is an intermediate unit, so the both unit will be not directly dependent on each others and they will not affect each others. Whatever things they need to communicate, they should go with the intermediate indirection. So example is adapter, facet and observer. The last one is, here is the example like salary and employee. Suppose there is an organization where the salary class is there, employee class is there, and one more personal class is there. Okay, now from salary to personal class, what the salary and personal class will come, if there is a situation where the salary and personal class will communicate with each other, then they will be directly dependent, they will be directly coupled with each other and they will affect each others. When the salary, any element of the salary will be changed, the things in the personal class will also change. So what we have done, we have make a indirection, we have put the employee class in between salary and person. So whatever things the salary class will change, it will change only for that particular employee, not in the personal class. not in the personal database. So employee class here act as a indirection. The next one is the protected variation. So it is like how to avoid the impact of variation of some element on other element. So that we have introduced the protected variation. That means to avoid the variation of one element to other element. So it provides a well-defined interface so that there will be no effect on other unit. So it provides the flexibility and protection from the variation. Suppose one variable is changed, so other elements should not be changed. So that's why we have introduced the protected variance. So it provides the most structural design. Example is like polymorphism, data encapsulation, and interfaces. Now data encapsulation is nothing but wrapping of the data into the single unit, like the capsules where all the particles are capsuled in a single thing, and interfaces and polymorphism. So polymorphism again provide the function overloading. That's why we know which method will be called by the shape class and which method should be called from the shape class object. So protected variation is nothing but avoiding the impact of variation, or we can say the change of some element on other element. If some elements are changing, so other elements which are belongs to that element should not be changed. So that is your protected variation. So I hope you have understood the things under the GRASP, the rules and the patterns which are taught in the GRSP. If you have any doubt, you can comment in comment box, or you can ask me in a Zoom session. For references, you can check in Apply UML and Patterns, 3rd edition, Craig Larman.